Welcome, it's a Wednesday. I am Chris Gore. We are Film Threads. Get ready to talk about the latest episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. A lot to discuss. I'm excited you're here with me on a Wednesday afternoon. I'm already thinking about tomorrow. So grab yourself a drink. It's the Hollywood on the Rocks edition of the Film Thread podcast, and so much to discuss. Remember, the Indies strike back. And I am going to be seeing a movie later today. I'm going to have to cut off the stream a little bit early because I'm going to see RRR. It is playing on 100 screens in the United States. It is one of my favorite movies this year. And it's also currently on Netflix if it's not playing in a theater near you. I am going to see it as part of the Encore. That's with $3. So if you're near the Lemley in Pasadena, then we're going to be in the same audience. Get ready, folks. Get your questions ready in the chat. We got a lot to talk about. Let's go. I've got myself a drink. You should have one too. Alan is here with me today. Alan, how's it going?
Hey, good. I'm on the road. I'm in Monterey.
Monterey, California. What are you doing in Monterey, California? Another episode where Alan's like not here, basically.
Yeah. No, I'm attending the Mendocino Film Festival, and this is the halfway point. So I've got another 5 hours to drive tomorrow. So
yeah. What are you going to be covering at the Mendocino Film Festival?
Well, hopefully Marcel the Shell. I'm hoping to see that one. They at 18 and a half, Dan Mervish's new film. It's in theaters now, but it's also at the festival.
I saw it last night. I was at a screening where one of the producers was there, 18 and a half, directed by our friend Dan Mervish, one of the founders of the Slam Dance Film Festival. We will talk about 18 and a half. We'll talk about Marcel the Shell. We're going to save it for our Friday show, where we're going to talk about a lot of movies, including The Boys Season 3 premieres on Friday, and I have all the episodes. So I'm going to watch them all tomorrow so we can discuss it. We'll talk about episode 1 of The Boys Season 3, and then I'll give you a little preview of what's coming up for the rest of the season. I am a fan of The Boys. I know the second season, there were some problems. I still really love all those characters, and I love the world, and I love the idea of superheroes being complete two-faced assholes in real life. I really think that The Boys is more of a metaphor for Hollywood than anything else. But let's talk about, because this is Hollywood on the Rocks, we have to talk about what's happening with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
It's getting hard to defend this show.
Well, first of all, I want to talk to you first about the show, right? This episode. We did talk about episode 1 and 2 last week. You can see that on the channel. Episode 3, the stakes have been raised, and something that is very controversial that has been talked about, it's part of our thumbnail here. They're kind of breaking the canon by having Obi-Wan and Darth Vader meet again. And okay, so we are, by the way, thank you
full spoiler
in the chat. Yeah, we're going full spoiler. It was I watched it last night at midnight. When they drop their episodes, it's kind of stupid. Yeah. I don't understand why they just don't drop it. If they dropped it at a reasonable time rather than like midnight or 3 a.m. for the East Coast, they might get some traction online and you could chat about it. But for most people are probably waking up, avoiding social media if they want to be spoiler free, and just having to watch it in the morning. They need like a consistent time. It's like 7 p.m. or 9 p.m., which, you know what I mean? Just something reasonable so we can all experience it at once and then discuss it. But there's sort of two things about this. One, there are the events that occur in episode 3. And 2, there is the growing controversy or non-controversy over racism that has been directed at one of the actors of the show, Moses Ingram. We'll talk about that. I think it's in a way, it's unfortunately, I feel like it brings kind of the wrong attention to this, right? Like we can just enjoy it and discuss the flaws, but now, you know,
there's a racial component to it.
There's a racial component. So Alan, I leave it to you.
Oh, you're gonna make me start.
No, but yeah, I mean, let's just talk about episode 3 and the events that occurred in the episode, right? Like,
I mean, last week, I kind of set up. I said, I'm really not going to judge the show until Vader shows up, and he shows up in this episode, and I kind of called it in the sense of Reva is in league with Vader. She has direct access to Vader, and that's pretty much established right off the bat. And so that kind of explains why she knew things that she shouldn't have known, because she had that quick access to it. But all the same comments I made about the show last week applies here. The dialogue, I'm okay with the story. The story, it's like if I took my Star Wars action figures, took them out in the backyard, and started running them through a story. This is kind of the story I might tell. But the difference is the dialogue feels like the dialogue I would have done in the backyard playing with my toys, as opposed to again rehashing last week the richness of the dialogue as it dealt with the lore of the Force and of the world and the history. That's just not there. All the dialogue is based on the action that is happening on screen, and that's the most frustrating and the most missed opportunity I believe the show has.
Yeah, I will say that I think the weakest component of the show is the writing is the weakest component. The dialogue is just awful. There's a moment where Obi-Wan Kenobi, they're in this sort of shuttle being driven by this alien. There's some stormtroopers.
Zach Braff.
Yeah, Zach Braff. And they she calls her Leia. She's with Leia.
Yeah.
And
he calls her Leia.
They come up with fake names, Luma, and then he accidentally calls her Leia. This is not the Obi-Wan Kenobi from the prequel trilogy. He seemed a little bit more ahead of the game and a little bit more savvy. And I think he's been in more dangerous situations, confronting General Grievous directly. There's just like so many other situations that Obi-Wan has been in that were much more perilous.
Yeah. I think they're portraying him as a broken man. And I think that's right. That's also part of the problem. I get that. I never got the sense in A New Hope that, he had given up hope at some point. And I'm not sure I buy into the hopeless Kenobi here. Yeah,
well, that's at least the way that Ewan McGregor is playing it.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
The thing I have an issue with is that it seems to, and this is due to the writing, is again, it's just completely lacking subtext. As you pointed out, pretty much the dialogue is focused on all the things that are happening. Like, could you hand me that sonic spanner? And then you get the sonic spanner. It's like, that's just, everything is just like on the surface. It's very much, I get the feeling that this show is, it feels like it's a Disney Channel show for children with the Star Wars skin on it. Do you get that feeling? And maybe that's just because the girl who plays Leia, she's supposed to be 10 years old, but look, I raised a daughter. They're bigger at 10. They're a little bigger at 10. She might be 7 or 8.
Yeah, I think maturity-wise, she's pretty close to 10, but she looks 7. And then, are you still bothered by her teeth? I think that's the.
That was what we talked about last episode. Is I think that this was an opportunity to inject some modern commentary, and everybody loves modern commentary in Star Wars.
Yeah,
everybody loves it. Where Bail Organa could have argued for dental care for Alderaan. Look at my daughter and her teeth.
I know
I know the chat's.
What is the Emperor? Why does the Emperor have his priorities in the wrong places?
Yes, we need dental care, health care for all on the planet of Alderaan. Bail Organa argued for in the Senate, and then until Galactic Pharma got to him.
Yeah, I'm just saying you're getting a lot of comments in the chat of
what are they saying?
But it's just they can't believe that you're hung up on her teeth of all the things.
Well,
I mean, press on.
Okay, well, yes, I am hung up on her teeth, but more than that, bad acting. The acting is pretty piss poor. And I don't even blame the actors that were hired. I actually think they're fine. I'm including Moses Ingram in this. I feel like the directors and producers needed to pay a little bit more attention to these performances. Give them a little more time. Maybe it was a TV schedule. They didn't have a lot of time, but I feel like you need to create a character, being comfortable in that wardrobe, running scenes, trying stuff out. Like and I don't feel like it. Just feels like it feels rushed. Is what I'm saying.
Well, let me talk about that in terms of Moses Ingram. I think she's better in this episode, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
In the first 2 episodes, I think her only instruction regarding her character was she's kind of this badass, evil woman, and really no motivation or subtext. In this episode, what I felt like is she finally got it, that the fact that she is next in line, that if she impresses Vader, she will become the next Grand Inquisitor. And I think that motivation enhanced her performance this time. I'm not saying it's a far better performance, but I did at least get a sense that now she has some motivation in her character.
Well, they're on this. I just forgot the name of the planet. It's not Tatooine because there's
it's the mining planet.
There were some. It just looked like going to Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to Joshua Tree, California, or if you've ever been in the desert somewhere.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. Why does this feel like the California desert?
It just feels like California desert. It seems very lazy. It doesn't feel, which was one of the cool things about Star Wars in the early days, is planets or environments felt otherworldly, right? They felt like you were in another world. And certainly I've been to Joshua Tree. I've been to the Vasquez Rocks. Great locations they could have shot, in California. Would have been nice. There are otherworldly looking things, and it seems like there was no effort to dress the environment. This is where I'm really coming down on the fact that I feel the true failure of this show is the writing, and Deborah Chow, the director, disappoints. She's much better when she's being produced by Jon Favreau. That's just a fact. She did, and I think most would agree with me. By the way, that is in the background. That's an R2-D2 cooler I got from the official Star Wars fan club years ago, because I was at Star Wars Celebration drinking. Perhaps you saw me in one of the 2 hotel bars at the Hilton or the Marriott. And I was given I had a 4-day badge. We're going to talk about that in a second.
By the way, we did meet a couple of you out there. And so
yes,
it was great to meet you.
Here's my 4-day badge for Celebration. And it's one of the worst design badges. It's ugly as hell. I collect the actual badges, and not so great. I was gifted this as part of the Chris Army, because my name is Chris, and there are a lot of people named Chris who like Star Wars, and we have these patches. I was also given, maybe we have to do a giveaway with this or something. This is an actual prop. I met the prop master from Obi-Wan Kenobi, and this is Tatooine money. And it feels like a challenge coin, very heavy. And he just ran into me, said he loved the channel, and gave me this prop from Obi-Wan Kenobi. So there you go. And then I got this sticker. So
there you go.
We'll talk about Star Wars Celebration later. But I think the big thing that I was both dreading and thinking, how are they going to do that, is Obi-Wan Kenobi meeting Darth Vader / Anakin. So they did that, and it was very anticlimactic. Couple things, a lot of things happened during this so-called fight. It was more like Obi-Wan was just trying to get the hell away, right?
Yeah, I've got a few thoughts about that one myself.
Yeah, and then immediately just tries to murder Obi-Wan, drag him through fire, which I actually kind of liked that. It was like, okay, this is what you did to me. I'm going to do the same thing back. But I feel like there should have been more dramatic weight. It was really missing something. It felt kind of flat. Like if this soda that I'm drinking was a flat soda, just like, okay, they're meeting. This is like, this is 17 years after we saw Revenge of the Sith, and we're seeing now Obi-Wan and Anakin meet, and he's a broken man trying to just hide in the galaxy. Darth Vader's moved himself up in the ranks and is hunting Jedi as kind of a side project, in addition to other stuff that Vader. I don't know. I really felt like we needed to see more of Vader and what he was up to.
Yeah, I will say the introduction of Vader was pretty cool. I was pretty excited, and then it just dawned on me that Hayden's just in the suit, and James Earl Jones is doing his voice, much like David Prowse did.
James Earl Jones is, I mean, we wouldn't be talking about Star Wars now if not for so many key elements of the original Star Wars, and one of those is James Earl Jones.
Yeah, and I mean, when his voice came out, it was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, no,
I like this moment, and then it went away.
Right. But I just felt like there should have been something more emotional. It should have built to a fight, or built to some conflict, or been more interesting. Literally, it looked, that set in which Obi-Wan and Darth Vader face off and fight for the brief time that they did, it looked cheap. It looked like some backlot thing where they were kind of, and it was done in the dark. So you're kind of like, are you repeating? They were just sort of repeating, kind of like when a cartoon character like Fred Flintstone is driving and you see the same boulder go by him 7 times. Like, that's what it felt like. It just felt, there was a cheapness about it, and it wasn't particularly dynamic. When you go back and look at some of the best lightsaber duels in Star Wars, there's the carbon freezing chamber, Luke versus Darth Vader, his father. Didn't know it at the beginning of the fight. There's the Phantom Menace in the power reactor, right? That was really amazing. There's, Anakin and Obi-Wan's final duel in Revenge of the Sith. Or even like there was the throne room and like these environments in which they had those lightsaber duels were almost part of the duel, because characters were able to use elements of that in the fight itself. And they're just into some flat desert that was nondescript. It was really like uninspired. Like, this is the big confrontation. The words they had were like, "You did this to me." Well, I mean, he didn't. Imagine James Earl Jones said that.
Again, if I took my toys and got my Darth Vader, my Ben Kenobi, and had them fight in my backyard, that's the dialogue I would give them.
It reminds me of, there's a great Onion video where they talk to like the 5-year-old screenwriter behind the Fast and the Furious movies, and it's literally a kid playing with Hot Wheels. And that. So, but like,
hey, let me talk about the production values since you brought it up.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch this episode, the biggest thing you're gonna notice is that everyone on set is socially distant. They're 6 feet apart. There's very few people in the set, so they're keeping the crew down to a minimum, and so you just get the sense that it's 4 people on a large set. That's what it felt like through most of this, and then I'll get into the stormtrooper scene where Obi-Wan's able to take down a truck of 4 stormtroopers, yet he can't stop a truck with 3 in the back, and the truck is backing up to them. Somehow that was more menacing than the 4 that were next to him trying to kill him at point blank.
I just think that there is a lack of detail. That
the fight choreography is horrible in this episode. Absolutely.
Let's go through, and I want to get to your comments in the chat. And I know we have some super chats, and thank you for those. We will get to your comments in the chat in just a few minutes. I want to point out the things that bother me that are so easy to fix. So easy to fix that, and I have seen fan films with Darth Vader that unfortunately I feel were better than this, that showed more emotional weight on Darth Vader, on Anakin, right? For what he experienced, right? Like, from his point of view. Here are the things that bug me is, it feels like it's being made by people who are not as familiar with the source material, right? And familiar even with a lot of people were pointing out things I was unaware of from other series, and that's okay. I'm familiar with the movies.
We're definitely film canon here, and
film, right? But there are things that break canon of other shows, right? Like
the Grand Inquisitor's death.
Exactly. That's what I meant. So I think that there's a lack of knowledge about the previous source material. There are stylistic things that I think are a disappointment. Where are my star wipes? That feels Star Wars to me. Star wipes. I think you actually do need some sort of opening crawl. It's been 10 years. The Galactic Empire, Darth Vader is hunting down, just something to give context, that's world building, and it's very easy, not expensive to do an opening crawl. Okay. So you could have had star wipes, more attention to that kind of detail. And I think here's a problem that just the format of doing Star Wars as television, this is an issue, right? Here's the issue. We now have Reva in 3 episodes. She's had more screen time than Boba Fett, more screen time than Darth Vader had in the original Star Wars trilogy. If you just count the minutes that Darth Vader was on screen, I think there's something to be said for having a certain balanced amount of screen time. And I think part of the issue is they've, I'm trying to dissect maybe why some people have issues with her, aside from the fact that I feel like her take on this character is doesn't work. She should have had, I've said it before, she should have had a British accent. I feel like a British accent would have actually fixed quite a bit. The other problem is screen time. If you went back and watched The Empire Strikes Back and Lobot, and I know you know who Lobot is, Lobot has very little screen time. I don't think Lobot even has any lines. But Lobot's a background character. He's Lando's like sort of right-hand person who's, sort of helping. I don't know, maybe he's the accountant for Cloud City. We never knew. But the cool thing about Lobot is brief character in the background, mysterious. We have no idea what's going on. And I really kind of feel like the thing that's not doing the character of Reva any service is there's so much screen time. It's like you kind of question, like, is this is clearly her story, right? I feel like she would have been much cooler if her performance was cut down. This is the thing that Marsha Lucas would always do, like the less is more. And so much of the original Star Wars movie was characters in the background. I'm going to throw another character out there. And please put in the chat, because I don't remember off the top of my head the name of this character. It's the character in Cloud City that's in one shot running, carrying the ice cream maker. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
And he's an Indian actor, I believe, and he's running carrying this ice. It's an ice in real life. It's an ice cream maker. So he's running carrying this thing. You have no idea what it is, but in real life, they just gave him an ice cream maker. And sometimes I've been to conventions like Dragon Con or whatever, and like there'll be like 20 people dressed in the same outfit, all running. It's hysterical. But I feel like there's so many ways that this could have been fixed. In addition to the thing is just the weak writing of this. I felt like Anakin and Obi-Wan's meeting for the first time should have had much more underneath the surface, much more weight. They maybe should have had words about Padme, like just something going on.
I mean, honestly, that's what I'm waiting for in this series, and I'm not sure it's going to happen. It's this sit down, heart to heart between Vader and Kenobi, and I don't know. I just feel like if that moment comes, they're just going to screw it up with inane dialogue.
Well, it's going to be inane dialogue. We kind of already know that. I get the sense that that's just what all of this. I mean, like Mario Puzo's not writing this. Okay, they're not. So
I know Larry Kasdan wrote Empire Strikes Back, and
well, Disney has a hard time attracting, I think, talent at that level where you just need to have stronger, more experienced writers, and I just feel that we're getting to the scene. In my imagination, it's a better scene than what I saw. And maybe that's also part of the problem is that the original Star Wars trilogy used to great effect off-screen events, right? This is something that it's a tool a writer can use. And that's the only time you should be explaining something. When Grand Moff Tarkin comes in, he goes and he talks about how the Galactic Senate's been wiped away by the Emperor, and you're like, one, I didn't know there was an Emperor for this Galactic Empire. Two, there's a Galactic Senate that he's then just gotten rid of. And it, like, just knowing that, like, casual, like we're just talking, this is Death Star work talk, we're sitting there talking and writers today don't know how to use off-screen events to build a world, or just to use speaking, you've got your you're not speaking this. They're basically speaking the subtext out loud, and it just makes it difficult.
No, they're narrating the action.
Right. That's it. Let's go to the comments here. Yeah. We're going to take a break. from our discussion. We're going to continue the discussion, and we have Flaccid Phoenix modding here, starring the best comments. Thank you, Flaccid Phoenix, for being here. Subscribe to Flaccid Phoenix's channel. Just look up Flaccid Phoenix. We have a $9.99 super chat here. Let me go to that. Wait, where is that? Let's get to that first. Let's get to the super chat from Buford T. Justice. Let's go to that. The Force isn't female. The Force is Luke Skywalker. And I will say, I agree with you in this sense. I think what Luke Skywalker represented in the Star Wars original trilogy is he represented positivity and optimism. In spite of everything being lost, Luke was optimistic. He was also willing to do what a hero that you admire should always think about, which is acts of self-sacrifice, willing to die for your friends, willing to put your life on the line. Take what you saw, all these pilots die going down the Death Star trench, and you're going to take one last shot at it, and you're not going to use the computer because you're listening to that voice of Obi-Wan in your head. I mean, I get chills thinking about it. Have we seen something like that, a moment like that, with Disney Star Wars? I can't really point to one that is a moment that is as great as the original trilogy or some of the best moments of the prequel trilogy, for that matter. So Buford T. Justice, thank you for that comment.
I mean, I have to push back on the fact that this is nothing to do with gender. It has to do with bad acting and the inability to be creative and the inability to understand the property that you're bringing to life once again. They don't understand Star Wars.
Even the cosmetic things, and some opening crawl or opening thing. And it doesn't have to be a crawl going into space. Okay, save that for the movies. Give us context. You can say something about the world and where characters are and set something up. They use
the John Williams score set up the whole movie. Well, right from the very beginning. You were in the action right at the end of his opening score.
Well, where was Vader's theme in this show? Where was it?
Maybe they didn't have enough money to pay for it.
Is it okay? It's weird. So maybe cutting a little slack to the writers and producers of this project. How much are they handcuffed by legal things that they can't do, like characters they cannot use, or they can only use a certain number of characters, music that they can't use?
Well, I mean, I'm being facetious. This is a Lucasfilm production, so they have access to all that.
Do they? You don't know. I'm told that the likenesses that Luke, because it was these legacy contracts with characters like Han Solo, Luke, and Leia, that those characters, that's why they were used in
likenesses, I understand. It's but the music, they have the music. Right. And then have talked about this at Star Wars Celebration, but I just get the sense that Disney is hiring writers who don't know how to write. And they don't understand.
You get that sense, Alan?
Yeah, that they don't understand how to write a television show. And they're making all the mistakes that you could possibly make with the television show. And the worst part is because it's all shot in the can right now, there's no chance of course correction.
That's exactly right. Yes. Like in most series, you go 24 episodes, you can kind of course correct. You can say, oh, this one character is really popular. Let's give this character more screen time. I think that's where, J.J. Abrams is, I'm no fan, but also he's more of a TV guy, right? So you have the ability to do that. But when you're doing effectively what is a long movie, it's a 5 hour, because what are the episodes like?
50 minutes each. Yeah, 40 to 50 minutes.
With 7 minutes of credits. I'm not joking. I paused to check. 7 minutes of credits.
So 45 minutes roughly.
You've got like nearly 5 hours, right? There's no time to course correct. You have 6 episodes and that's it. It's already in the can. It's done. So
we have to suffer through the next 3 episodes, basically.
Well, exactly. And you look at this is why I say I kind of feel sorry for this actress getting caught up in this. I think she's also getting terrible advice.
Yeah.
Terrible advice from Lucasfilm, who is exploiting her and using Moses Ingram as a way to inoculate themselves against any criticism for this show, so that the producer, so that the the accountability for the quality doesn't go on the producers themselves. Let me get through some of these chats, because we got some great. The chat's on fire today. And do me a favor, smash that like button, please. And if also if you're not a subscriber to the channel, subscribe. You may want to subscribe if you have not subscribed before. Oh wow! And we appreciate that you're all here. Smash it. 400 people watching live right now. Finish him. Oh, my jeans. All right. Let's get to it. Fletcher Williams. Hey, good to see you. This will be an epic Chris Gore approved rant. Well, yes, heard a few already. OG_boxer says, after Obi-Wan, I need a drink. You and me both, brother.
I'm so disappointed. Yeah.
Internet Rec Room, RRR, never heard of it. I'm sorry. All right. Internet Rec Room, I deserve that. I've been talking about it since I first saw it. I'm going to see it tonight again at the Pasadena Lemley. Feel free to join me if you can make it in time. Loom TV says, what was that stupid hide and seek game between Obi-Wan and Vader on a pretty much open field? Yes, that was like, okay, wait a second. It's an open field and lightsabers are like giant flashlights.
Yeah, or when they set that last big explosion off, I'm like, the easiest thing to do is just walk around it.
There's not any logic, and we could take a dive into this. I just want to mention briefly that what was great about early Spielberg and Lucas movies, the Raiders films, Jaws, the original Star Wars, they were masters at creating cinematic sentences, right? A plus B plus C equals action. They understood geography. You got there was no sense of geography. It was just an open field. And Loom TV goes on to say, so clumsily directed, and neither Vader nor Obi-Wan seemed capable of their full Jedi strength. Yeah, it was like, okay, they're in an open field on a planet, on a meaningless planet whose name I forgot. And why all this? Don't you think that Vader would have waited for Obi-Wan to get captured, right? Like those kinds of things happen in a Star Wars film. Captured, have a conversation, and then he's going to do to him. He's going to, whatever. I mean, there was even, and I'm going to go very old school, before the prequel trilogy, and when it was announced the prequel trilogy was coming out, there were rumors that, because all we knew was the Clone Wars, we didn't know what the Clone Wars was about. There was a rumor that there would have been clones of Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan the number 1 was supposed to be, there were going to be multiple Obi-Wans. This was a rumor back in the day of this was the wild, wild west of HTML, Internet 1.0, when I used to relentlessly check the force.net. CB Western says it was a bad fan film. The thing is this, I've seen fan films that I think
are good fan. Yes.
And they're definitely good fans. Saying that, and I kind of feel like the people making the fan films have more of a respect for the lore and the knowledge of I don't understand why they don't just hire those people.
Yeah.
Why don't they just hire those people?
I mean, what the fan films does that this one doesn't is they all talk about the Force and their ideas of what the Force is, what works. This one, there's been zero discussions about the Force whatsoever.
Yeah. The Blockbuster guy, haven't watched third episode yet, but this whole Moses Ingram debacle the last couple of days is frustrating. What's disappointing about it is it's a distraction. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to my other friends who are Star Wars fans. I want to talk to everyone at Celebration about the merits, the things I liked and the things I did not like about the show. That's every time I ever went to a comic book store or a Laserdisc store. There was a store called the Laser Library on Green Street in Pasadena, and I lived there. And I would get into arguments with the guy who was at the cash register. His name was Anthony Miele. We since became friends, but we would get into such heated debates about Coppola and Lucas and this or this movie or Cronenberg or whatever the argument was. People would sort of check out, and then they would just stay to watch us argue. And this is why I also enjoy talking to you, Alan, because we have that same thing. We get into these debates and arguments. You like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I did not. Debate. And that's half the fun of being a part of all this, right? Is that debate. But now we're distracted with a thing where fans are being vilified for having an opinion about a character, which I think they're fully justified in having. And it's okay to not like things, and it's okay to celebrate and like things. I was talking to someone who loved Princess Leia's little robot.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, I didn't care about it, but it didn't bother me. And I argued, I was defending it's like every Star Wars anything has something cute. Everything from the very
something merchandisable. Absolutely.
Merchandisable and cute. In the first movie, it was R2-D2, and the Jawas were cute, arguably. And every movie has something cute and small. And George Lucas has an affection for little people. Don't read too much into that. But I'm just saying that, like, it's okay. There's something. This is what's so great about Star Wars, and this is why it comes up on almost nearly every episode of. We're gonna get back to talking about non-Star Wars stuff on Friday, but you know, that's the fun of all of this. But to get distracted with, like, I've been around fandom for years. I mean, I've been collecting comic books since I was a kid. Watching the Batman television series, the original 66 Batman with Adam West when I was 5 years old. Discovered that show in reruns. I'm not that old. And I love all this stuff. And, you know, accusing fans of racism because they don't like something. I've been around this world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember if I've seen any sort of real racism. When I was a kid growing up in Detroit, I encountered in the world of punk rock, because I would go to punk rock shows. I would go see the Dead Kennedys. I saw Black Flag. I saw the Smiths. I saw the Clash. I went to see punk rock shows as a kid, teenager, going to shows. Even like when I was 14, I'd have friends who drive. We get tickets to see the Clash. We'd see the Clash at the Fox Theater on Woodward Avenue in Detroit. And the real racism that I saw was usually guys that had swastika tattoos, and they were looking to beat you up. And at the time in college, my girlfriend was not white. She was, and I didn't like her because she was black. I just liked her. She was into Batman. I was into Batman. We liked foreign films, movies with subtitles, and just like that was our jam. And we just like doing the same stuff. And, you know, we had real people confronting and harassing us. Also, you know, so I've seen the real. If we've lowered the bar of racism to not liking a character on a TV show, I find that pretty sad. And also, like, I've had my share of being harassed. You know, look, there's a reason that this documentary that's coming out sometime in a year or so is called Film Threat Sucks. You know, from the beginning of starting Film Threat, been harassed. Have I gotten like cruel messages? Yes. What's the best way to approach it? Is either I used to just retweet people when social media came around. Someone would say something horrible about me. I would just retweet them and then let my followers kind of attack them. And I thought, well, I began to think that that's a bad idea. I don't want to exacerbate something. And it could be a kid that's like 11 years old just being a smartass and saying something cruel and doesn't understand that, like, oh, like, I don't want to, so I stopped doing that. I set my phasers to ignore. I just ignore it. But everyone, if you are online, confirm for me in the chat. If you are online, you have had someone say something that was not appropriate. And everything that Moses Ingram shared is wholly inappropriate and horrible. And someone who's a jackass should probably not be using social media. Sending that to a stranger.
Yeah.
That's horrific. And I'm at the point now, just having seen so much of this, that I kind of feel like, one, there's a reason, and there's a documentary. This is a documentary. It's not Star Wars related. It's called Rhino Skin. And Rhino Skin is a documentary about what it takes to be a successful actor in Hollywood. And they say you have to have rhino skin. You have to have really thick skin to be able to go in and constantly be rejected by people in casting, to constantly go and just like, all you're doing is constantly being rejected and people not liking you because of your physical appearance. This person's too tall. This person's too heavy. This person's too this. I mean, look, casting directors, they're blunt, not your face. Behind those doors, incredibly blunt. This person's not talented enough. You have to have rhino skin to be able to survive and thrive and be successful in this industry. And I feel like Moses Ingram needed some better advice. That the advice to take, even upon seeing these messages, is no, I'm going to be humble. I'm going to be grateful for having this opportunity to have success and be just getting to where she is on the show. So I feel for her, and I feel like she's being used by Lucasfilm. She's getting terrible advice from the people she's surrounded by. And the fact that now this is part of the conversation makes this not fun. I've been around fandom. I just don't. I'm trying to think of one case of going to San Diego Comic-Con or going to conventions where I've seen anything remotely racist. If anything, if you're a fan of something, we're friends now. Like, like that line from what's that movie, Step Brothers, where they're like, did we just become best friends? Like, look, do you like the original Fantastic Four run by Kirby Lee? That's my favorite 100 issues of a comic. You know what I mean? Like, and also the thing is this: no nerd can know everything. You just can't. It's impossible. But what I love is, in my nerd circle of friends, there's a lot of people that know more about this than I do. Someone knows more about Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, so I'm going to talk to that person. This person knows more about Frank Herbert's books after God, Emperor of Dune. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, it's great to have a diverse group of nerdy friends to kind of fill in the gaps. But I have never seen it, not once at San Diego Comic-Con, not like ever. If anything, the most welcoming people I've ever known are people that are into nerd stuff, in particular Star Wars fans. So this being used is terrible. I'm sorry for that rant. I'm going to go through the chat. I'm sorry, Alan. Do you have anything to say on this?
Yeah, just one quick thing. The frustration that I have is this idea that, if you criticize her, you're a racist. What that does is it immediately it just basically says that now Moses and Lucasfilm is basically immune from criticism. And because they're immune from criticism, they're not going to make the right changes to make the property better. And that's the thing that kills me the most. Because we could point out, if she did this, she'd have a better performance. But instead, it's like, well, why should I listen to criticism? Because they're all racist. And that's, it doesn't do anyone any favors. And I think ultimately we all want to do better. You would hope that Lucasfilm would want to improve. And and there's just no sense that they want to listen to fans at really good criticisms and make changes for the future with them.
I think there's so much you could have done with Reva's character, just make her more cool. Like I don't know, maybe some markings on her face, like kind of like Darth Maul, or maybe like a robot arm or something. Just like that's maybe how she has a connection to Anakin, is they both have suffered in some ways as in their battles, like war weary, and then also just being like a more understated in the performance, who's a little too over the top, and a British accent. There's so much just like, if I were doing the show, I would have I'm going to make her I'm going to make you fucking love her.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you love her. And I feel like they didn't give her enough tools.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: if in fact she was one of the younglings in the first episode,
she has to be. Come on.
Yeah. If she was, there's so much you can work with from a character standpoint with just that fact,
right?
And there's no mention of it, and maybe they didn't even think. Well, they could still do it. There's such great story potential there, and they're blowing.
That's the thing is, this is okay. Of all the stuff. Mandalorian, it's like, oh, that's cool. And there are highlights and really amazing episodes of that show. And they're great highlights of the Mandalorian. We can go through certain episodes that are just amazing. Right. And I love the era that they chose to tell that story. Really great unmined material.
Yeah.
And I was more looking forward to this, because of what the potential was.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like Revenge of the Sith wrapped up too quick. Wrapped up too quick. It's like Lucas is like, I gotta wipe his memory. They go to those planets. Obi-Wan, you go to Tatooine.
He's tying up loose ends by the end of the movie.
He was just like tying up loose ends. And famously, George Lucas forgot that Obi-Wan had to pick up Anakin's lightsaber to be able to give it to Luke in the original trilogy. Like so many things, the ending of Revenge of the Sith felt rushed to get to, and it's done. And this was an opportunity to really look at a lot of this, examine, like, you know, Anakin and the loss of his mother, maybe get into the lore, maybe even have Anakin have a conversation with the Emperor and have them sort of sow the seeds of distrust, where he's, you know, like he has his, Darth Vader has his own agenda and whatnot. Like, there's so much unmined territory, and they could have built up Reva to be, look, you need heavies, right? You need like characters that have very little screen time, but a lot of weight. In particular, okay, in Return of the Jedi, there's an admiral that greets Vader. He doesn't have a lot of screen time. He's got like very few lines, but like, we shall double our efforts. Remember that guy? When he's greeting Vader and he goes, I hope so, you know, like every minor character, you know, you're not giving favors to your friends to, oh, you can be in Star Wars, right? Like, no, you really want to cast amazing character actors that can bring some weight and add something more to it. And again, all I see when I see, in particular, episode 3 is missed opportunities.
Absolutely.
Missed opportunities. Let's get to
chat.
these
Let's get
here.
to chat.
I'm so sorry that I'm just
we have some
I'll get to it.
Okay.
Placid Phoenix is taking care of us. We appreciate it. Goober, I think I instantly forgot Obi episode 3 straight after watching it. I went right to bed. Dempsey, I've been waiting to hear what Chris has to say since the episode dropped. Well, now you're hearing it. Adam Iglesias, this episode makes TLJ look pretty good. Yeah, I will say the throne room scene with Snoke, that was a fun action scene. I thought something was going to happen there, but you know, there we go. Spidey Sensei 72. We already saw the lone wolf and cub thing with the Mandalorian. Why do this again with the Obi-Wan Kenobi show? You're right. Two similar
territories. Because we're not creative. That's why.
Exactly. Flaccid Phoenix. Alan still goes in the backyard and plays with his toys.
I had all the first generation Star Wars toys, and that's where they were left, in the backyard.
MK Solid 82. Do we know if Alan is wearing pants?
I'm wearing shorts.
And pants emoji. Okay, shorts. All right. The Blockbuster guy.
I just traveled all the way here for.
Yeah.
I've been on the
Blockbuster guy. Right. This is the Obi-Wan that is supposed to protect Luke. Like, how? And Daniel for $9.99. Thank you for your super chat. Took off work early and drove 5 hours to St. Louis to see RRR in 30 minutes based on your word. Oh my God, Daniel. All right, look. When we do the show on Friday, we'll do our morning show, the Film Threat livecast. I want to hear what you think.
Yeah.
Seeing in a theater. I'm seeing in the theater for the third time. RRR. Looks like it's gonna be a packed audience. I'm very excited. So Daniel, thank you. I hope you're gonna have a great time. Guarantee it. MK Solid 82. All Obi-Wan says is, "What have you become to Vader?" How could there not be more dialogue there?
Yeah.
I agree. There's, even if you look at, and I have it on my shelf here, they did like, it was like a episode 1 Phantom Menace sketchbook, and there's the original screenplay. Darth Maul and Obi-Wan have words after Qui-Gon Jinn, is killed. There's dialogue there that George Lucas ended up not using. So here we go. Flaccid Phoenix. Chris is really showing his straight white teeth privilege. I can never get. I turn on the lighting like at the last minute. In my space here. One day I'm gonna get I'm gonna do a whole stream where I just like set up my space here better. This is just
leftover. Your light is fun. I mean, you're
okay?
Like turning red to pale for some reason.
Am I a little pale?
No. For some reason your camera is shifting from red to pale, and I don't know what it is.
Maybe I gotta. Should I turn off these lights?
I wonder if it's your camera. If it's like a
camera. Turn off these. Now it looks dark.
Yeah, now turn it back on. We're okay.
Is that better?
Stay with what you have for the rest of the show.
All right, fine.
Leave it on.
Okay, cool. All right, let's just get to it. Okay. All right. Okay. Ice Planet. Wait, lol. Planet Burning Man. Oh my God, that's so right, Shelby AC. Thank you for your comment. Yeah. Really old movies. Are you going to San Diego Comic-Con? Love to meet you guys there. We are absolutely. Alan and I will be at San Diego Comic-Con. We are going to be doing at least one panel, and then we will be screening Attack of the Doc, which is a documentary about G4 TV and Attack of the Show. We're screening the picture cut of the movie. It'll be the first time it's going to be publicly seen. So there you go. And Jeff Brooks is here. So thankful James Earl Jones still has that iconic sound in his voice. I don't know, but in Rogue One, he sounded a little off or sounded old.
I mean, I'll say he got it right. He sounded like Darth Vader.
Yeah, Chris Neville says Obi Coward Kenobi. Well, there you go. Patrick's Raider seems like a new Patrick's. We've never seen Patrick's. OMG, Chris, you are reading my thoughts, and I'm reading your chats. Cardinal Sin for $1.99. Hail Film Thread, one of my favorite channels. Thank you, Cardinal Sin.
Thank you, Cardinal.
Cardinal Sin, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Patrick Lemire is here. Says Vader should have been his own standalone series. Agreed. Should have been a standalone series about his rise, because I don't think Vader right out of the gate was a heavy. I think Vader had to kind of work his way up, make his bones, so to speak, right? He had just become a Sith Lord, and hunting down Jedi, Vader hunting down Jedi with sort of some side characters kind of vying for Vader's favor would have been awesome. And I think that really could have worked. Thank you, Patrick.
What did you think of his violent streak walking down the street there, just killing people left and right?
Oh, I thought that was cool. I thought that was good. But I just felt it just looked cheap, and it was kind of easy and like, I don't know.
You just walked in, you move your hand, and someone's dead. That's
Geek Truth 64. God, we had like 600 people watching.
I know.
Smash that like button. Thank you for that. We don't normally get this. Maybe we have a growing audience. I hope we do. Thank you. Geek Truth 64. I've got to say that fight was one of the most anticlimactic things I've seen on screen. Poorly lit, poorly edited, poorly choreographed, poor music and little buildup. Exactly. There should have been a buildup. There should have been a and I'm going to tell you something about Star Wars that once I point it out to you, you can't unsee it. This is something that's kind of in the cinematic. When you get really deep in like cinematic language, what certain colors mean, what movement means, etc. When you look at Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, notice that for the most part he moves left to right. Why does he move left to right? Because on the eyes we read left to right. Where does Darth Vader move? He moves right to left. It's against the way that we read, right? Our eyes are the way our eyes move when we read text, right? And the purpose of that is to build a visual image of Luke is going this way, Vader's going this way, and at some point the two are going to be in conflict. And that is not exclusive to Star Wars. If you look at other movies, when they show villains, when they show the protagonist and the antagonist, in general, they're moving in the opposite direction visually if the screen were like a play, right? As you're looking at the screen, and directors think very deeply about this stuff, right? Like, which direction is this character moving? Because what it shows in your brain is eventually those characters will be in conflict. This is as true for Star Wars as it is for a movie like Titanic with Leonardo DiCaprio. Notice this now. Notice nothing is by accident. And there could have been a buildup like Obi-Wan. There could have been some music that kind of builds to it. And my feeling is this is corporate filmmaking. This is corporate. It's not of the work of a visionary like a George Lucas who can do what he wants to do. And not. It's so.
I mean, in a way, this there's 3 more episodes, so this is a build-up. This is the low end of the build-up. It's going to go somewhere. It's just we're not having much faith in where it's going. And, right. And to me, this whole series, if there's no meaning scene between Vader and Kenobi, then this series is just total trash at that point.
Right. Chat is on fire, so I'm going to get through these real quick. Chris Neville, no Vader music with Vader is a sin. I agree. Yeah.
They should have walking down the street killing people. That should have been going on.
There should have been that music. Are they saving it?
The reveal. His
reveal. A theory,
they should have been playing.
We were chatting earlier today, Alan, before we started the stream, and you were saying like, well, they're going to have to fight again, because this was just sort of the first conflict. But the first conflict should have been something happens that they have to resolve. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
like he
the
blames
problem it's reinforcing this broken Kenobi, and you can't keep doing that, especially when you're in episode 3. We need to see where he's going up at some moment, where he's going to get back on his feet, and you can't do it halfway in the movie. Or
exactly.
the
Zach's stagecraft
is horrible. The stagecraft, yeah, the set pieces, just the fact that they could have walked around fire and gotten to Kenobi, but yeah.
And your super chats here. Thank you. Buford T. Justice is back for $9.99. Verisimilitude. Verisimilitude. Absolutely. That's a term often used by Robert Meyer Burnett. Another super chat here. Abraham Cadillac for $10. Hail Film Thread. Thank you both for your work. Thoughts on Shin Godzilla? I love Shin Godzilla. I love that. I have both versions. Just because I bought it on Vudu or something, and I got the subtitled version in Japanese, and I have the dubbed version. I have them both, and I was watching it with my girlfriend, and there's a scene in it where one of the characters says, "Tell me where there's a Zara," because she wants to go shopping. I guess it's very popular. Like Patrick Lemire says, "The Force is female. It needs a little male energy." I do feel that the current Lucasfilm, you need male energy because, and I've said this before, you know who's attracted to male energy? Men. You know who is even more attracted to male energy? Women. Women, like we would not be talking about Marvel movies today if not for the strong male testosterone-driven energy that women like. Tiara Starbrighter. Why did I think it said The Last Starfighter? For $5, says Darth Vader force chokes a Disney writer. I find your wealth of wokeness disturbing. Yeah, well, it just seems like just sort of activist driven. And yeah. Let's get through the super chats, prioritizing those. Atlas Information for $10 says, totally off topic, Mr. Gore, but on your recommendation, we are 40 minutes into and just passed the official title card of RRR, the best film of 2022 so far, hands down. Thank you for the recommend. Oh, wow. I can't believe you're like watching this in the theater.
I forgot that the 40 minutes in. Yeah, it's the title card.
Maybe on Netflix. You're going to love it. There's a scene in the middle of the movie that's just insane, over the top, that always gets, every time I see it, just gets this huge reaction. Hey,
and the dancing, of course.
$25. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. The art of the real. Can you find an optional way of getting donations so YT doesn't get 30% of my money? Nerdrotic has an option. Yes, we are going to, and thank you for that, the art of the real. We're going to be changing the way we do things on Streamlabs, and Flaccid Phoenix, myself and Alan will have a conversation of how we're going to use Streamlabs, because if there's technology in front of me, I will find a way to make it not work. So there you go. Matt Guillemette for $5 says, done with Disney Star Wars. Though I'm getting into the Star Wars Legends canon, this Obi-Wan show is making me love the prequels way more. Thanks, Disney. Yeah, it does. And I certainly appreciate at least George Lucas had a plan. He had ideas he wanted to explore. And little did we know when we were watching the Star Wars prequels that the thought of like a republic and a democracy sliding slowly into totalitarian rule would be more relevant. It wasn't necessarily relevant when the prequels were out, because the prequels, Revenge of the Sith came out in 2005. Those movies started in 1999 with The Phantom Menace. Yeah. Am I right? Yes, 3 years apart. So, I think the prequels have aged well. I don't believe that the sequels can age well because there are certain things you can't undo. Like the fact that Han, Luke, and Leia never reunited, the fact that their deaths were handled in such a poor and disrespectful way to those legacy characters. So
that's even though we're talking about Star Wars, you're 59 minutes in on
yes, exactly. Okay. OBGYN Kenobi says, what is RRR? Look it up. RRR. It is
it's on Netflix for one thing.
It's on Netflix. It's directed by a filmmaker named SS Rajamouli, and I'm sure I pronounced it wrong. Please forgive me.
And it's not Bollywood. It's Tollywood.
Not Bollywood. It's Tollywood. It is. We watch that movie, and then say to yourself, what if that guy made a Star Wars movie? They already, in interviews with SS Rajamouli, they asked him, would you do a Marvel movie? And he's like, no, I don't want to do a Marvel movie. I want to make Indian movies. But you're looking, and world cinema is kicking our ass. When you look at other movies from other countries, they're making better Hollywood blockbusters than Hollywood is capable of making. Although Top Gun Maverick, fantastic this weekend, and I really would like to see it again. Darth kills all. Is Snoke's Rey's half uncle? Is Snoke Rey's half uncle? Who knows and who cares? The sequel trilogy was just a colossal disappointment. You know, it ended up being there are people who liked Force Awakens but hated The Last Jedi. Then there were people that hated Force Awakens and then hated The Last Jedi. And then everyone was united in despising The Rise of Skywalker. I think that, there we go. The Blockbuster Guy, chat, almost 600 people. Very nice. Thumbs up. Yeah. Give us
over 600 people now.
Over 600 people now. So we appreciate that.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody.
Johnny Mercury, Wilrow Hood. Wilrow Hood. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Blockbuster Guy, don't forget to smash that like button. And the next episode is going to be about rescuing little Leia again, says Laura Buckles.
It is actually. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Look, let's have serious conversation here, Alan. Dr. Fauci's prison butt says a generation of writers brought up on Wikipedia is coming of age. They just Googled for the answers. That's why their writing is play-by-play that lack any context.
Where are they learning to write? That's the, we've had film school. You're supposed to learn this stuff. I don't think they've gone there, or maybe it's these damn improv classes they're all taking. Where are people learning to write nowadays, and why are they not doing a better job?
I know. Joshua Levesque, always good to see you. No Duel of the Fates yet. They're probably saving it for the finale. That would be nice. Jamie Ruiz says, so we get Hayden, but all in the costume? I thought it would be flashbacks to before he turned. They could have done that. What's interesting is there is a Sideshow collectible. Look this up. I got excited. There is a Sideshow, not that I can afford them or go out and buy a lot of that stuff. I'm very particular if I'm getting a collectible. But there is a Darth Vader new Sideshow collectible figure statue that is Darth Vader with he's got his helmet is smashed in. You can see like Anakin. He's like the costume is kind of ripped and burned. And I'm hoping that is a preview of a figure that ties into perhaps the final episode. So I hope we get more Hayden. It would be a shame because I feel like he didn't get an opportunity to really shine in that role. Shanatsky is here. Alan, they don't even hire writers. They cast them. Not just cast them, they probably use AI.
Yeah. Hey, did you notice, when they were burning Kenobi, that his entire body was burned except for his face? I mean, I guess the Force saves the right parts.
There you go. Dempsey says Kenobi and the Multiverse of Sadness. Nate D for $2 says, I love Alan. The other guy is cool too.
That's right.
There you go. Alan getting love.
Thank you, Nate.
Jonathan Cable for $4.99. Loved your stream with Gary last week. Disney set the racist narrative before the first episode aired. The fandom can no longer take the vilifying. It's just not just the vilifying, it's also the double standard. So everyone is on the side of Moses. No one should be treated that way. I'm trying to think who is in favor of that. No one's in favor of an actress just for appearing on a show getting that kind of hate. Except I'll just tell you this, I'm nobody and I get stuff like that. I just ignore it. You should see the horrible shit people say about me on Twitter, right? I'm not talking DMs. I'm talking about quote tweets. You're an idiot, blah, 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 whatever. You know what? I don't give a fuck. My mother taught me this. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. And then the other one was if someone threatened to beat you up, you'd say, oh yeah, but your dad will pay the hospital bills. Which I don't know if that's much of a good comeback, but that was something that kids would say, right? But I was just taught you got to let that roll. You got to build up that rhino skin, right? That's how you get through life. You will never not be dealing with bullies. You will never, whether they're strangers or some executive at some corporation who's a fucking prick. You're always going to deal with, which is why I don't fit into corporations all that much. I'm not a good fit for a corporation. So. And Film Threat could hardly be called like a big corporate. It's a collection, of people that are just super passionate about.
We super got money, lots of it.
Yeah. Well, we're building. We're getting. Guile Quint says, "Just found you guys. Awesome, Guile.
Hey, welcome.
Smash that like button. Please subscribe and thank you very much." Tiara Starbrighter, over 600 viewers and only 300 likes. Smash that like button. And Dempsey says Wilro Hood was the guy carrying the ice cream machine in the background. Wilro Hood. Oh, thank you, Dempsey. Oh, that's great. I knew there's a name for every character. That's what's so great about George Lucas. That was my first thought when I saw The Force Awakens. My first thought when I got into the theater was this needed more George Lucas. It needed more George, because he thinks so deeply about every character. Go back and watch the behind the scenes on the prequels DVDs, and I think a lot of that stuff is actually on the official Star Wars YouTube channel. Wilro Hood. Thank you, Dempsey, for that. Uncle Pappy Wolf for $5 says Reva is oddly imagined, no accent, scare. Even the minority actors are gray. Why not make that a part of the dark side? She comes from a different show. Like, I just felt like there's more they could have done to make her more menacing, which is maybe less screen time, maybe not such an over-the-top performance, a British accent, which we know the Imperials are affiliated with British accents, right? They're the bad guys. There's so much more you could have done into building a character. It's not just someone where you read the lines and when you're angry, you yell and are mad. Like, that's her choices. And by the way, this is something that a director works with actors, or should work with the actors. You build a performance. You say, no, can you dial it back like a little bit? I've seen that's usually the direction from directors when doing scenes, is too over the top, dial it back, turn it up. And you're trying to dial in and find the right balance so that the audience believes it. I'm sorry, for as much screen time as she's had and as how important they built her character up to be within the story, she's as important as Kenobi.
Yeah. And they could have helped her out a whole lot.
They could have helped her out. And this is the thing. Actors are hired. You gotta work. And she has said in interviews she wasn't really familiar with Star Wars. She had seen a couple of the sequels. She wasn't familiar. Well, that's okay. They hired her for a reason. They believe in her. Well, if you do, help her out. Don't use her as a victim to sell your show or to shield you against criticism because you didn't do your job. Writers, producers, directors.
And the original cast were not fans of Star Wars, but
the original cast didn't know. I mean, Harrison Ford famously said, "You can write this shit, you can't say it." Right? That was Harrison Ford. More of the super chats here. Thank you for that. Graham Leonard for $5. How about Obi-Wan using a civilian as a shield from blaster fire? Great to see the writers know the character so well, eh? Yeah, here's the thing is Obi-Wan just seems so different than who he was. We needed to see a little bit of that change. There you go. Yeah, Wilro Hood. Oh my God, that's so great. The Alex Zorba. How many times can I cancel Disney? Yeah, hate to agree.
Sorry, here's the action figure.
Oh my God, so much. Oh, that's so great, Alan. Oh, I love it. The Blockbuster guy, the studio didn't want her to have an accent. She went over it in an interview, wanted her to be a modern person in the universe. I think that's a terrible choice.
She's got to fit in the universe. She's got to fit on screen. She's got to fit with the entire cast. And the way she portrays it, she doesn't fit. She comes off as, there's this cognitive dissonance saying that she doesn't belong here.
Yeah, she doesn't. Yeah, like why did they do that? I think that's a terrible decision. That's a terrible decision. They should have looked at dailies coming back and just said, it's not really working. Just got to give her a British accent. Do you remember when the pictures of Darth Maul first came out? Before we even, and by the way, Darth Maul, that's not the actors. Why am I forgetting the name of the actor?
Ray Park.
Yeah. Ray Park. Okay, that's not even his voice. They used a different actor for the voice of Darth Maul. They could have done that here. They ended up using Anthony Daniels' voice for C-3PO, but then they didn't use David Prowse's voice for Darth Vader. You look at this stuff and you make choices. I guarantee, and there's I don't know how familiar anyone is with the Phantom Edit. Do you know what the Phantom Edit is? Have you ever heard of that, Alan?
Yeah.
Wait, you know what the Phantom Edit is?
I've heard you talk about it.
Okay.
I'll say that.
I have VHS tapes, which I transferred to standard def DVD were a bunch of editors and multiple editors. There's an East Coast cut and a West Coast cut. After The Phantom Menace came out, a bunch of filmmakers were kind of so distraught with how it was. They went and they made their own edits of Star Wars Episode 1, and they're great. In one of the cuts, they basically just cut Jar Jar's screen time down. So they cut like when he steps in poop and when he does things that are kind of stupid, like dropping that wrench in the pod race energy beam, and he kind of numbs his tongue, which is stupid. It's a stupid joke, which J.J. Abrams put a numb tongue joke into the Star Trek 2009 movie with Chris Pine. Anyways, that aside, what was very interesting that they did with Jar Jar in one of these cuts is they cut down anything ridiculous that he did. They cut out when Anakin said things like yippee. And what they did is they actually subtitled Jar Jar. So, and basically made him into this, had like a different guttural, he kind of spoke like had this like deep voice, and he was like from a proud warrior race, the Gungans, and he would speak in gibberish, and then you'd have these subtitles come up. It completely changes Jar Jar as a character, which I always thought that Jar Jar's character, the biggest problem with him was screen time. Screen time is so much for a minor character that it's like, well, who's here? Jar Jar's character, if you go back and watch Episode 1, he follows the hero's journey. Everything that Joseph Campbell laid out in the hero's journey, that's what Jar Jar does. It should have been more focused on the relationship with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Originally, in the original like sort of treatments and drafts of the Phantom Menace script, there was no Qui-Gon Jinn. It was just Obi-Wan and Anakin, which I think might have been a better choice. But yeah, I didn't know that, Blockbuster guy. Thank you for that. Billy D. Shilliams for $1.99 says, sorry to say, busted Helmet Vader is from Rebels. Is it?
Oh, okay.
I saw someone post pictures from it and said that they hope that this is what happens in the show. So thank you, Billy D. Shilliams, for $1.99. I feel like I owe you for that. Dempsey says, why should she be modern? It was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and this show is before that opening crawl chronologically. She is a character in the distant past. Yeah, I feel like that was a terrible choice on the part of the filmmakers. A terrible choice. You know, it's sort of like, it's such a bad choice. It's almost like when you're watching a show and they work in like, where did they do this? In like one of the Transformers movies, I think it might have been the second one, where you hear like rap music and it's a character, and like these are robots from outer space, by the way. Or it's the Poochification of something, like in The Simpsons, the character Poochie. They would introduce Poochie, which was this terrible character on a skateboard because kids are into skateboards. You know what I mean? It's like take a current thing and then just sort of put it in a story where it doesn't fit.
Yeah. Well, I think Leia's flying
doesn't work.
Is that thing.
Yeah. RMFX, then they gave Kylo Ren a Scream voice changer. Ugh. Patrick Lemire, I cannot judge an actor based on one thing. If I had not seen Life as a House and Breaking Glass, I think Hayden Christensen couldn't act. True. I mean, those movies. I would say Shattered Glass. Is it Shattered Glass? Not sure, Patrick.
Yeah, but definitely Life of a House. But yeah, but I mean, I would say Hayden Christensen was not my favorite actor in the prequels, and I question his acting ability in the same way that I question Moses here as well. Right.
Jeff Brooks says, should we just give up, vote with our wallets? How do we get Disney to understand people hate what they're doing? I canceled my Disney Plus when they fired Gina. That's all I could do. Yeah, that is to see the way that they came to her defense, but they don't extend the same courtesy to Gina Carano showed total hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just think it comes down to not giving them money. I bought this Disney Plus subscription 2.5 years ago when they offered it to D23 members, which I'm a D23 member. I think Alan, you are as well. Yeah. I think it's just free.
No, well, you were at D23.
I was at D23. I don't think I'll be going back. But you basically, it's just you're on a mailing list, whatever. And they just offered it. You could pay like $140, I think it was, for 3 years in advance for Disney Plus. I knew The Mandalorian was coming out. Rise of Skywalker was not yet out, and I was excited. I thought they're gonna fix everything. They're gonna fix. I am freaking optimistic, Luke, when it comes to a lot of this stuff. But yeah, no, I think just stop supporting it. I think at this point, like after, I do plan to watch Kenobi until the end. But there you go.
Yeah.
The Bad Bandino, Robert Lewis says, I just wanted Jar Jar to be a Sith Lord. Something. Sequel edits, says Derek J. Fiedler. You could take, I've always wanted to see, like, look, this is a great way for the aspiring filmmakers watching. This is a great way to learn filmmaking, is to do a different cut. There's a very famous re-edit of Eyes Wide Shut called Eyes Wide Cut that you should check out. Just Google it, Eyes Wide Cut. There are the Phantom edits, which people did fan edits of all of the Star Wars prequels. I don't know if anyone's done a sequel one. What I would love to see is, being a fan of The Godfather, I'd love to see the Godfather 2 cut of Star Wars, where you mirror the story of the rise of Luke Skywalker and the rise of Anakin Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And you intercut those two stories. Like in the way that, go back and watch Godfather 2, you're seeing like a young Vito Corleone as a kid, and he's an orphan, and it's
well, the cool thing is that everyone has access to these tools that filmmakers are using.
Exactly.
Premiere Pro, Avid, things like that.
Yeah. So yeah, someone should do those. Uncle Pappy Wolf for $5 says the Vader end scene with the fire was odd. Why was he? Why is he staring? He should be like Luke/Vader in Jedi, hiding and talking. How would you end that duel scene? Some dialogue.
I would have replanned it. The way they planned that whole sequence out was just wrong and doesn't make sense. And again, they could have just walked around it.
Yeah. Justice Racer says episode 3 should have been the start of the show. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I think all they need to do is kidnap Leia, get Kenobi involved, and then bring it here.
They needed something. They needed something with they needed like an opening crawl or something to set the universe, and they could have started right at the end of Revenge of the Sith. I also think that you need a little Emperor, even if you just have the Emperor as like a hologram, right? And you just hear the voice. They missed an opportunity.
Although I think we did like the opening montage of episode 1. I think both of us pretty much said that.
Episode 1 of Kenobi. No, you're talking about the recap.
Yeah, the recap, exactly. That's the best part of Kenobi so far.
Yeah, the Alex Zorba. Disney has no understanding of Star Wars the way Kurtzman doesn't get Trek. For $5, Uncle Pappy Wolf. I think we already talked about that.
Yeah, we got that.
Goober says Obi-Wan is famous for the Jedi mind trick. He does nothing at the blockade.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Brian CF, 5 stars, characters with 2-star story. I cannot stand it. Yeah, these 5-star characters with a 2-star story. Yeah, they just girthy guitarist. I didn't like Obi-Wan just watching innocent people get killed. Yeah, I think that I think there is they underestimate how much George brings to the table, right?
Yeah. And also the fact that him watching Vader kill all of them still had the same result had he gotten involved or not gotten involved.
Precisely. More chats here. Ryan Landis says, I was hoping that Obi-Wan and Jar Jar would be cave roommates. They could tie up Jar Jar's story. I think that fans would like to see Jar Jar. We never got what his fate is.
Robot Chicken got it right. They made Jar Jar a Force ghost for Anakin as Darth Vader.
Oh my God. CC says James Earl Jones is still amazing. Really should have just had a limited Vader series where he hunts Jedi. The most popular Star Wars character, Darth Vader. The most, and arguably the greatest villain in movie history. Thomas Vincent, why did Vader let Obi-Wan go in the end?
Yeah.
Use the Force?
Again, he could have walked around the fire and just got to
go. To fight another gay. MK Solid 82. Why not give Reva a cool helmet? Her costume is so lame. Her costume looks like Party City. I mean, am I wrong? Like it's like a Party City.
Very plain, yeah.
Yeah, it's
and you can't cover her hair up. Other thing.
Well, just sexy Darth Vader is her costume.
Yeah, that's true. They could have done that.
Well, Zach says the writing is the real problem anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Agree. RMFX. Lucas probably has an occasional sad. Then he looks at his bank account and smiles. Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's true. But Alan, we have a special guest that's going to be joining us in this conversation in about 10 minutes. Filmmaker Shane Stanley. But for our next 10 minutes, want to talk. We'll get to more of your chat questions here, but it's really interesting to talk to everyone about this because I think it's just so important because so many people. I mean, we're having this conversation because at one point we saw these films when we were younger, and I think it's an important conversation to have, and it's important also. I don't understand why these giant corporations don't have more respect for these assets, right? Like this is like this, you are now the shepherd of this series and this fandom, and to mishandle it the way that they have over the last week is disheartening. I want to hear your thoughts, Alan, on that.
Yeah, I think this has been Disney's pattern for a long time when they just get comfortable with the fact that they have a built-in fan base that will give them money no matter what they do. And, I think we first experienced it with Disneyland and California Adventure. Just how Michael Eisner at that point was just basically taking money in and not doing anything to advance or to innovate or to be creative in any way. It was just do it. Build California Adventure. People will come to the park and give us more money. And they still haven't learned that lesson yet. We thought it changed with Bob Iger. It changed for a while. Things got great, and now they're just sitting there collecting money, basically.
Well, it's just this is the series that I was really looking forward to because, as I said before, I don't think episode 3 wrapped up too quick, and even I thought that wait a second, does Obi-Wan even know that Anakin is encased in that helmet? I mean, now we kind of see how that happened, but that reveal was handled in such a weak way. What are your thoughts on that? I know we talked about it, but it just God, I'm so this is them meeting for the first time in a decade, and
again they're missing opportunities. They don't understand the relationship between the two of them to have built that moment correctly,
right?
And again, this is the theme. It's just one missed opportunity after the other. This should be. They could have taken the exact same story, the plot, and they should have made this a lot better than it is now, without changing a whole lot. And
100%. 100%. There should have been just some other just some subtext and the dialogue's not even clever.
Mm-hmm.
Who is writing this?
Yeah, that's just it. No one knows. Oh, yeah, I'm just repeating myself. No one knows how to write anymore.
All right, well, let's get to the chat questions here. RMFX says Lucas probably has an occasion. We read that one. We read that one. I'm so sorry. Robert Muldoon for $5 says show should have been Obi-Wan and Vader cat and mouse game and them dealing with their past.
Mm-hmm.
That, Robert, you should be running Lucasfilm. That's a home run. That's a home run. This cat and mouse game of Obi-Wan, he doesn't want to be found on Tatooine because that would lead Vader to Luke. So he has to go off-world to kind of throw him off the scent. He's hunting Jedi, and we see the opening scene should have been Vader hunting Jedi and saying, well, there's one Jedi I want to get, right? There's one. Yeah. And then you meet all of his heavies that he's surrounded by. They're all currying for his favor, right? They want to be, Vader's Padawan. And they're all trying to get in his good graces. And of course, he's just dispensing with them and killing them, he was doing with the generals, which at some point he's gonna run out of them. It just
and then when they killed Benny Safdie, it was there's no weight behind that either. I don't think he really used the Force at all. And when you think of Star Wars at all, it's about the Force, and there's zero talk of it at the moment.
Official Marquez Delamore says, I miss George Lucas. Yeah. I agree. The blockbuster guy, Andor is looking pretty good now, hopefully. Well,
great trailer.
I would say that the trailer's not terrible. and at least it looks different than other stuff. But I don't know if history has proven anything. I just don't have a lot of faith in what they're doing. Retro Nerd Girl is here and says, I enjoyed the episode, but it really annoys me that the continuity is completely out the window. I have a hard time believing that these are the same characters in A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I think that's the problem is that this kind of breaks the canon for what we know in terms of story. Andrew Zakis says, George needs to sell his shares of Disney now before it's too late. He should have sold them a year ago.
Yeah.
He should have sold them a year ago. And Vamp King for $4.99 says, hey, so Hayden is coming back hidden in his suit and voiced by James Earl Jones. Seems like he doesn't have to do much acting. Yeah.
Hey, we still love David Prowse. And, you know,
I remember
he can make a career at Comic-Cons doing this. So,
well, I remember when, you know, they would say like David Prowse is Darth Vader. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But Darth Vader really is an amalgam of, this is why the character is so great. It takes so many people to, I mean, think about it, the people who have been Darth Vader, right? You've got David Prowse is in the suit, right? And it wasn't just David Prowse in the suit in the original trilogy. You've got James Earl Jones' voice. Then you also have the suit itself.
Yeah.
Right. The suit itself and the design of that, you know, by Ralph McQuarrie, one of the people involved in it. And then you've also got then, Jake Lloyd as young Anakin Skywalker and Hayden Christensen as a 20-something Anakin Skywalker, right? So it took all these people, and then let's not forget John Williams' music. Mm-hmm. John Williams' music is to Darth Vader what his theme is for the shark in Jaws. It's so iconic. You think of that character immediately, and there you go. So we are live with, wow, almost 600 people watching right now. Here's a quick reminder before we get to our special guest. I want to say, first of all, thank you for everybody that's here. We have a special guest. I think we're probably going to have to continue some of the Star Wars conversation here, but I do want to remind you, we are Film Threat. You should go to follow us, subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. Hit that bell for notifications, and if you're interested in the T-shirt that I'm wearing, which says the Indies Strike Back. That's on Empire Strikes Back, the inspired shirt. You can get that shirt if you go to shop.filmthreat.com. Where is that? Somewhere in here.
There you go.
Shop.filmthreat.com. You can also, if you want something for free, send us a self-addressed stamped envelope to Film Threat 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California 90036. There are all your reminders for everything there. And I don't know. Here's another quick thing. Another little quick. Where is this? Alan wants you to know this. Alan, how could you be doing this?
I could have just done that one myself.
Alan, how could you? Truthfully, I cannot believe. Let's see. I've got another quick thing that I can show you here real quick. That'll be fun. Yes, here we go.
We'll always be with you. No one's ever really gone.
You shall not think you are greater than the Gungans.
Okay, so maybe that would have been a better movie than episode 9. Who knows? But I'm excited today. We're going to, I don't know, we're shifting gears, and we are going to be talking to filmmaker Shane Stanley is with us today. He's joining us on the live stream. Shane, how's it going, man? What's going on?
Hey, it's great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Well, I know you have a film is it opening this week?
Yeah, Friday. It's called Double Threat. It opens up Friday.
Double Threat opens Friday. Look up the trailer. Not right now. Look up the trailer online. I want you to look up Double Threat. It's out this weekend, and I want you to think very carefully about exactly what movie you're going to see this weekend. I always say you have to balance your movie viewing with, you watch your mainstream Hollywood stuff, but I also think it's important to support independent filmmakers like yourself. But we were just, I don't know, you were actually you showed up very early, which is good, making sure that you're technically, here. But like, do you have opinions or thoughts on the current state of Star Wars as a filmmaker in the industry who's made? And first of all, you have to get Shane Stanley. You need to follow on social media. You got to follow Shane, and you got to here, Alan. Let me help you out with that.
I got it.
Okay, cool. Follow Shane on social media, and also your book is amazing. Tell people about your book.
Well, first off, thank you for that introduction. It's so nice to be back with you guys. It's great to see you. My book is called What You Don't Learn in Film School, and it's basically the ins and outs of the business. It's the business of the business, from concept to delivery, and how to make an independent film, whether it's creating a marketable concept, going out and raising independent capital, how to be prepared when shooting that film, because, when you're making the movie, you can't have the wheels come off the wagon. And then when you're done with that film, how to align yourself with the right sales agents, distributors, partners, and how to make sure the film gets out and gets seen as much as it can. And you work the international markets. So many of us are here in America are worried about Sundance, or is it going to be in theaters, or is it going to Netflix? And I try to remind people in the book, we've got 172 countries that buy films. We've got 54 territories. And your bread and butter don't care where it come from. And let me tell you, if you play it smart, you've got a big globe out there that wants to see your film, especially with the American talent of filmmakers and actors. So you got to think global when you make your films. And I just try to walk the filmmakers through my 30 plus years of experience as a producer to try to help them avoid a lot of the pitfalls that people make, so they can have a smoother journey along the way.
Now, if you look back at the history of George Lucas and Star Wars, George Lucas is the most successful independent filmmaker.
Absolutely,
hands down, the most successful indie filmmaker. Lucasfilm was this little indie film company that, he started with American Graffiti, THX 1138 before that, and Star Wars was this weird thing he was working on for years. He wanted to do Flash Gordon, couldn't get the rights to it, decided to do this little independent thing where he took little independent influences. Where do you have thoughts on the current state of Star Wars? Are you sort of up to speed with like what's happening with this Obi-Wan Kenobi series? And do you have thoughts? Because here's what I will say about filmmakers I know is, when you're talking to people publicly, you're saying, oh, everything's great. Everything behind the scenes, people are very critical. And they very much will look at look, I think many of us wouldn't even be talking about this stuff if not for the original Star Wars. This is how we became fans, and this is how we get involved, and then we create our own projects. But what do you think about the current state of Star Wars? My personal opinion, I think it's a little too corporate for me. But what are your thoughts?
I haven't seen Obi-Wan. We're getting ready to see it this week. It's been a busy week for me, so I've not been able to get into it. I have a lot of friends who were involved in it on camera, a couple that were involved with Double Threat, actually. So I get what you're saying. I mean, I'm a product of the 70s. I grew up 6 years old, standing in lines for 3 hours to watch the movie. I saw Star Wars 27 times in the theater before I was 8 years old. So you're talking to somebody who grew up with it. It was tough when you were a child growing up. Christmas couldn't come soon enough. Your birthday couldn't come soon enough. And every 2.5, 3 years, a Star Wars couldn't come soon enough. And then after the third one, Return of the Jedi, they went away for, 20 years. Yeah. And then we started seeing it again. And that was hard. I had a hard time adapting to the new ones. And I know the new generation loved it. I was a traditionalist when it came to the old Star Wars movies. My wife and I got so into The Mandalorian. We loved it. We really, really enjoyed, I think the other one was the Book of Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. We really enjoyed that. But it's, Disney owns the franchise now. It's been basically given to Jon Favreau and the like. And I think we know why Disney bought Fox, and we know why they acquired that franchise. And that was to crank it out and do exactly what they're doing. So It's become corporate. It's basically the Goo Goo Dolls of 1998, where they went from being this cool underground band that not a lot of people knew of, and then they did the theme song for that Nick Cage Meg Ryan movie, and everybody knew who they were, and they lost a lot of fans that way, but they sure achieved a lot of success. So I enjoy being able to sit in my little home theater or whatever it is, which is really just a big screen on a wall, and enjoy that opening scene, as you guys were talking about, the music with John Williams blaring on 10 till the speakers are crackling and rattling the fillings of my teeth. And I like having that ability to watch something new every 6 months, but I see what you mean. There's a lot of it that just become glossy and corporate.
Right. We have some questions, some directed at you directly in the chat. I want to get through some of these questions real quick, but a super chat here from Vamp King for $4.99. So Hayden is coming back hidden in his suit and voiced by James Earl Jones. Seems like he doesn't have to do much acting.
I think we did that.
Oh, we did that one? Okay, yeah. Akanika says, Shane Stanley, I love your wonderful Film Courage interviews, the best. I will say also, Film Courage, if you want to get to know more of Shane's work, go to the Film Courage YouTube channel after you're done here and check out the amazing interviews. Shane is no BS, common sense advice. Supplement that with his book, and you will be in great shape. So thank you for that, Akanika. And
thank you. And also your interviews on Film Courage are fantastic. Yes. So please make sure to go see, after you watch mine, of course, go see
yes, exactly. Flaccid Phoenix says, Shane, what is your dream project? Yeah, if you were going to do a Star Wars movie, I would sort of add that. What's your dream project? And then if you were going to do something Star Wars, what would you do? I'm going to add to Flaccid Phoenix's question.
I'll tell you something funny. Great question. When I was a kid, Flaccid Phoenix, I always dreamed of being a stormtrooper. Every Halloween, I was a stormtrooper, whether I was putting on a tinfoil hat with magic markers or wearing inside-out white football pants to look like the half pants. I couldn't get the real thing until I was much older, and I always wanted to do it. And it's funny, and I mentioned a friend who worked on Double Threat, Ardeshir Radpour, who is our horse wrangler. Ardeshir's a regular guy in all of the Star Wars shows now. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but you should check him out on social media. He's always posting pictures behind the scenes in costume. He builds a lot of his stuff. That would be my dream. And I got to remind myself, and Ardeshir, if you're listening, I got to whisper in his ear, just throw me in a Star Wars outfit, like a traditional stormtrooper, throw me out in the desert, and my dreams are beyond. Well, I could die a happy man.
Well, you would die a sweaty man. I think
I would. What's happening?
That would happen. And let's see. We have here Orville Nation for $2 says, "Give it to Seth MacFarlane. Seth Star Wars film. That would be interesting.
It would be
for sure. I mean, I think, Orville is tonight. Yes, Orville Nation for $5 says, yes, so many missed opportunities, and this Kenobi is too broken in my opinion. The Orville premieres tonight. I love the Orville. It started out as kind of like, I don't know if you've seen the Orville, Shane.
A little bit.
It's like Star Trek, sort of a mix of Star Trek: The Next Generation, the original series of Star Trek, and it started out as kind of a vulgar humor show in the vein of something you think that Seth MacFarlane would do, but it has evolved into a really amazing science fiction show. I mean, some of the episodes are just really amazing. Andrew Zakis says, "Look at those awards on the shelf." Cool, man. Yeah, now I notice them. Wow, that's great. Well, that must be fun to dust all that stuff every once in a while.
Have you hurt anyone with those Emmys or?
No, but I've had to replace a couple with earthquakes here in California. The '94 earthquake wiped a couple. We actually, in the family, we lost 7 in the '94 earthquake.
Oh no! Well, you've got 7 that you can spare. It's pretty fun.
And then we had a steamroller go by and resurface the street 2 years ago and knock one off a mail. I couldn't. She's sitting in 3 pieces.
Dempsey says, "What can be done to save or redeem the horror genre in the modern day? Is it even possible to be scary using CGI? I would love to hear your thoughts." That's a really good question. Yes. Like CGI, I think, is overused in a lot of Hollywood stuff. It's used in indie stuff. What are your thoughts on the use or overuse of CGI and how to make it be more effective when it comes to storytelling?
I just think that no matter, I was looking at the premieres for the new Jurassic Jurassic Park that comes out, I think, in a couple of weeks, and it's amazing and how groundbreaking that was back in '93 when it came out. But there's still elements of fake, and I'm not knocking that. They're obviously doing the best they can, but if you're not at that level and you're just forcing all these VFX and green screens and all this stuff in your projects, for me personally, maybe it's because I'm a filmmaker, I see it times 10. So it pulls me out. I miss the old organic. I mean, you look at Hitchcock, he didn't have CGI and all that. I mean, guy was using chocolate pudding for blood, for crying out loud. I miss that just organic, use what you have. And I totally respect and understand the whole use of CGI, but is it being overused in all genres? I think so. But what do I know? That's just my opinion.
Well, I like, for example, filmmakers like Steven Spielberg or Christopher Nolan, they say they will only use CGI if that's the only way to solve a problem. And a lot of it is removal, right? Like there'll be a thing in the background, whatever, they'll just remove like something that's holding something, whatever, to just the using the CGI to just kind of get you in the world, not CGI as like a character or whatnot.
Sure.
And let's see. Flaccid Phoenix asks, what was your favorite scene to shoot in Double Threat?
Great question. Without spoiler, we have about a 3-minute fight scene that was coordinated by Doc Duhame. And if you don't know who he is, Doc was the fight coordinator on Ray Donovan. He worked a lot with Spielberg. He was Gene Hackman's guy and Mel Gibson's guy back in the heyday. Doc is known for his incredibly realistic, brutal, violent fights. And our film stars a young lady, Danielle C. Ryan, who is, 5'2" with a full moon. And she's got the most unbelievable fighting skills. And she absolutely was adamant about no stunt doubles, no fight doubles, no anything. And she did everything. And if you get a chance to see the film, there's a fight scene that takes place between her and two really big dudes. And we didn't do any of that. Okay, let the other guy stand around and wait for this guy to get, hit and fall, and then the other guy goes up. None of that. This was an unbelievably choreographed fight that we actually shot a lot of it in real time with 2 cameras. And I was blown away watching it unfold in front of me. And that by far was my favorite. It was just, I think you'll agree when you see that fight scene, it's like nothing you've really seen before. And it's pretty gnarly.
I think that this begs the bigger question. What is Double Threat about?
Double Threat is about a guy who's traveling across country to spread his late brother, who's estranged brother's ashes, who was unfortunately lost his life. And he stops at a gas station to just fill up and get some sundries. And while he's there, there's a young lady working behind the counter, and these 2 guys come in and try to kill her, and she wipes them out and takes off. And then, after the shock wears off and he, gets the blood off of him, he staggers out to his car and continues on his way, and he's in shock. And all of a sudden it turns out she hitched a ride in the car, and the mob is basically, she was working for the mob as a cover for the business, but had been skimming from the mob for a long time, and they were finally onto her. So now it's them together with the mob, chasing after him and her whipping ass.
More comments for you. John Stanhope says, please teach Disney writers how to write and think, Shane. BJ Scorpio says, Jurassic, by the way, there's like almost 500 people watching right now.
Wow.
Shane. BJ Scorpio says Jurassic Park has only 50 CGI shots. I didn't know that. Ryan Landis says the thing was the ultimate. Yeah, the thing was.
Yeah.
I mean, some of that stop motion maybe at the end wasn't the greatest. There's a couple shots, but I don't care. The Thing is probably my favorite horror film, John Carpenter's The Thing.
That was pretty incredible. That was incredible.
Yeah, Flaccid Phoenix is asking you, Shane, what, in your opinion, is the most underrated movie of all time? Ooh, I could not answer that question.
There was a film I saw, my father recommended, Jonathan Tucker's first big film, which I don't think a lot of people saw, called The River's Edge. I think that was it Beneath the Surface. It's been like 30 years. That was really good. If you could look it up, whether it's on IMDb or Google, there was a film that was Jonathan Tucker's first real feature where he was discovered. He was very young at the time. That movie stuck with me for a really, really long time. And I think it was The River's Edge. And wow, I just thought it was really good. It was kind of like, The Winter's Bone 20 years earlier. I thought that film didn't get the credit or the success that it deserved. That's one that always stuck with me.
Oh, and real quick, Patrick Lemire asks, is that a Kimi Raikkonen helmet?
That is actually an Arai helmet. We just finished a film called Night Train. And Valerie Thompson, who's the world's fastest woman on two wheels, went over 200 and something miles an hour for us in our film. And Arai Helmets was kind enough to provide us helmets. And I was fortunate enough to be able to get one when we wrapped. And that was the one that Valerie wore in the film.
That's great. Dark Hierophant says River's Edge was great. Roebuck and all were fantastic.
So it was the River's Edge.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Ogre Squasher 101 for 1999 says, hey guys, when Disney bought Lucasfilm, why did they announce that the expanded universe was dead? The Timothy Zahn novels would have been so much better than the final three films. I agree. I read those Timothy Zahn novels, and they were like this, what should have been the sequels to Star Wars. I don't know if you read those, Shane.
I heard a lot about them. I didn't read them.
So good.
Really?
So good. So yeah, I don't know why they did that. I think it was the idea that the new creatives didn't want to be tied to the events in the expanded universe. I think it's a huge mistake because there's so many good stories from the expanded universe, and I think we've seen the results. It didn't really work. So Marius Z, question for Shane, what do you think of movies like The Northman, Joker, which are relatively new movies with visceral feeling to them, to the themes they touch, how to attain it in the writing?
God, that's a question that goes way above my comprehension.
Okay.
I did see the Joker. I think everybody did. I didn't see Northman.
Oh, it's great. You got to see it. So
I've heard it's great. New movies, visual. What is she asking here? I don't even understand half the words in here. Forgive me. Too many hits to the head. That's why I got a helmet. Screen feeling to them. Wow, she's.
How do you attain that? How do you attain that feeling in the writing? The feelings like The Northman and the Joker, movies that are kind of like more pensive, slower paced.
Yeah, I believe, as a writer, I think a writer, everybody talks about an actor absorbing a role. They talk about how an actor has to become a character, the 50 pages before it starts, the 50 after, if they don't get killed off. And I think in screenplays like you're talking about, again, I haven't seen The Northman, but I know certain writers will go into some very deep, dark places like an actor will in order to create a world, a universe, a character, a pace, a style. I've worked with some great writers. I've been fortunate. And sometimes when they're in the middle of something really heavy or really deep, it's kind of like being around a method actor who's in the middle of doing a role. And that's a really intelligent question. I don't want to pretend to know how to answer that, but answering your question, I know some writers that just go into the world, and I think you have to absorb it. I think you have to consume it with every fiber of your being and live it until you're done.
Some quick questions here. Ryan Landis, I remember The River's Edge. Wild movie.
Did you like it? I hope Ryan liked it.
Yeah. Dr. Williams, Shane, what did you shoot and edit on?
I am pleased to say that we have partnered with Canon for our last three films. They have been so good to us. We have been shooting on Canon's cameras. We've shot on some of the the C700s, but I have actually moved my last two projects to the C70s, which is it's a smaller rig. I like a real, I kind of come from a background of music, of plug in and play rock and roll, like Van Halen, Aerosmith, those bands that just didn't care. They plugged in their guitars and they played a great show or made a great record. And I'm trying to implement that more in my style of filmmaking. And I found in partnering with Canon, with all the incredible new high-tech stuff they have, for me, the C70, we just shot Night Train on that. We're gearing up to shoot another film on it. That camera, I am a huge fan, and they've got some new lenses. I have a hard time pronouncing it. I think it's a Samora lenses that Canon's using right now. We did all of that with double threat. And I was a Final Cut guy until they got rid of 7 and jumped to 10. Sorry if I'm offending a lot of people. I was a Final Cut guy, an Avid guy for many years. I made the change to Adobe back in probably 2010, and I've been sticking with it ever since. And it works for me. And I know a lot of people have issues with any platform. But for what I do, it works, and I'm real happy with that.
Cool. We have a lot of questions, so I'm going to try to get through them with
Great.
rapid fire here.
Hopefully 500.
Yeah. Really old movie says, what is your guys' favorite classic Hollywood era film? For me, it's Casablanca and Metropolis. That's a good response. I would say Gone with the Wind, Wizard of Oz. Where are you on that, Shane?
For me, my most influential years were coming up. My father is a filmmaker, was a very active filmmaker when I was coming up. So I got to see films like Chariots of Fire, The Black Stallion, On Golden Pond in those 70s and 80s, and those movies, and of course Star Wars. But that was in a totally different world for me. But what really turned me on as a viewer and as a future storyteller was those films like Chariots of Fire, On Golden Pond for the character development, and The Black Stallion for the cinematic beauty. If you ever get a chance, watch that. I think it was 1981 with Mickey Rooney and Terry Garr and Hoyt Axton, and it was one of the most beautifully shot films I've ever seen. And that the imagery of that film sticks with me and really made a huge impact on my life.
Comments and questions here from Tierra Starbrighter. If you want to be visceral, you have to live life. Also, combat sports.
I still want to know what visceral means.
Derek Douglas asks, Shane, do you think the influx of new writers with limited amount of experience is causing a lack of quality screenplays today?
Oh my God. Thank you. Derek, great question. I talk about this. We used to laugh, 100 years ago when I was doing studio films, we would sit in these developmental meetings with these executives, and their idea of roughing it was driving a leased BMW with the top down in a Starbucks. And I'm seeing, writers more and more becoming more isolated. Obviously, the last 2 years of what we've been dealing with has been difficult. But when I used to write, and I have passed the buck on to writers like C.J. Wally, who I've done my last 3 films with, I had to have lived what I'm writing. I had to have experienced it. And I think if you're writing about relationships, if you're writing about certain things that you're expecting an audience to experience and consume their time with and fully suck it in, I think there's a lot of living that people are missing out on. And I think that's a great question. I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of interaction we're having now, living on text and the personal one-on-one time. The road trips are not as common as they used to be. And just when we're out in public, we're on our phones. We're constantly there. And I look at old Super 8 movies that I had transferred when I was a kid at festivals and Circus Vargas and all these things that my dad shot when I was a kid. And what was really cool is everybody's face was up. They were making eye contact. They were living the moment. They weren't down here. And I think that's taken a lot out of what creatively we ultimately can do.
And Dempsey says, visceral, being or arising from impulse or sudden emotion rather than from thought or deliberation. Synonym, instinctive. Interesting.
Thank you, Dempsey.
Solomon Thornton asks, Sir Shane, I guess now you're a knight. Sir Shane, what is your best advice for a filmmaker?
Oh man, well, thank you, Solomon. My advice that I try to push in my classes and in my book is go out and shoot. Again, I go back to the phone. We have no excuse. We can all do it now. I think if you're an aspiring filmmaker and especially a writer, get out there and get your product shot, get them cut. All of our computers have the wherewithal and the technology to build stories. Have actors, don't just have your mom or your aunt and your neighbor act in your films. Go to local theater groups or acting classes and say, I'm doing a short project. They will line up and they will at least somewhat know the craft better than your next door neighbor will. And I cannot emphasize it enough. Go out and shoot, make 100 mistakes, learn from them. Don't make those same mistakes again. Go out and shoot again and make 100 more. As I tell people, I make 100 mistakes every day I make a movie. I promise you, I never make the same one twice. And I just think if we're constantly growing, it doesn't mean your next film is going to be 10 times better than your last one, or the next one after that's going to be worse or better. It's more about learning and growing. And, I can look at the last 10 films I did. Sure, there were some ones I'm really proud of. There's some that I'm not. That's life. Nobody's perfect. But I grow and learn from each one. And I just think my advice for filmmakers, Solomon, is just shoot and cut and learn and grow. because, you know, sitting in a classroom or watching other movies will give you ideas or implement knowledge, but there's nothing more than getting your knuckles dirty or bloody and getting out there and getting, you know, your ass kicked. And that's what filmmaking is. It's an ass kicking. So go out and get your ass kicked on the cheap and build from there.
And quick question, a random question from Jack D. Ripper, favorite De Palma movie?
You're asking me? Well, I mean, who? Brian De Palma, he did Scarface, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites.
I mean, I my dearest friends in the world, we quote that every day. Hey, look at that pelican fly! Come on, pelican! You know, I mean, that we send that meme to each other a couple times a week. I mean, that's my favorite De Palma movie.
And more question here. Another one from Fletcher Williams. Shane, how do you promote with so much competition?
Hey, you know what? It's a great question. We live in such a fast forward world now. You know, we have tragic events that take place on a Tuesday and they're yesterday's news on Tuesday when something else happens. That's life now. You don't get the screens. You don't get the coverage. I mean, thankful for you guys having me here on Film Threat. You just have to believe in your product, which I do. You have to go out there and just do things like this with great people and have fun and interact with people and hope that when they're done seeing Top Gun and Jurassic Park and Obi-Wan and all the other stuff that's spending hundreds of millions of dollars to fill the pipeline, that somebody one day is just going to say, you know what, I've got 2 hours, I've seen it all, what else is on, and they're going to check you out. That's all you can do. You can't, when you're making independent films, you don't have the grease, you don't have the brown bag money, and you don't have the screens all over the globe to be headline news. So you just have to deliver a good product you're proud of and promote it the best you can.
Retro Nerd Girl asks, what are your thoughts on movies featuring life-threatening situations that insert lighthearted comedy?
Watch Double Threat. That's what it is. It's satire. It's parody. It's you know, Double Threat is serious stuff going on with comedy. You know, Matthew Lawrence plays the straight man. Danielle she's a split personality girl. She's got associative identity disorder. So 1 minute she's next door girl, next door apple pie, the girl you want to take home to mom and say, this is what I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And then she turns into Laura Croft when stuff starts getting a little crazy. And it's Matthew getting hit with all this stuff that I think makes it fun. And I'm a big fan of that. I have always in my life, Retro Nerd Girl. I remember when I was 16, I lost my mother. And I remember I always liked the saying, when you go to Vegas, you deal the cards, you play the cards you're dealt. You can't ask for a redo. I got to live my life that way. And so when I deal with tragedy, my sister's the same way. We often find humor in it, which can piss a lot of people off in our circles because we don't make fun of things and we don't get stupid about it. But I have always lived my life that way. So I'm a big fan of.
And it's a funny comment. Planet 628 says, I was literally just holding my Scarface Blu-ray when Shane mentioned it.
It's Kismet. Now go see Double Threat.
And then Nate Winchester asks, Shane, any funny improv incidents from the shooting that made it into your movie?
Oh, God. Don Olivieri, who was just in 1883 and, you know, House of Lies. Don and Kevin Joy are the two assassins that are appointed by the mob boss to go after Danielle's character, who's with Matthew Lawrence. If you watch them, they stuck to the book. They hit all the beats and all the points brilliantly, but they went off. And I usually don't do a lot of takes, but, you know, there's a scene when they're changing a tire and Don and Kevin, you know, Don's changing the tire and they start yelling at each other and going off. I mean, it's, you know, 10 different takes, not one line was the same, but the point was still made. I love that stuff. And you get in the edit bay, you know, Nate, and it's like, what don't you use? And all their journey driving, most of it's improv. There's a scene where, you know, his name is Ellis and she mentions Ellis Island, which is obviously, you know, a big place back east. And he doesn't know this place exists. So they have this whole conversation about Ellis Island and she's baiting him like, you seriously didn't know there was an Ellis Island. And I mean, that was all improv. And we do that throughout the film. There's a lot of improv. And also with Matthew and Danny and their action scenes, you know, she's going down a mountain, taking out all these assailants in this cool junkyard. And Matthew's shoe came untied in one of the takes. And he literally stopped, tied his shoe, and all this hell's breaking loose. it just catches up with her. She just looks at him and goes, "You done?" You know, I mean, it's just those little things, Nate, that happen when you make movies and you allow the actors the freedom to just play. And that's what I say is I don't say, all right, let's work or let's shoot. And I drive some people nuts with the saying when we're on set, all right, guys, let's play. I trust my actors. I so trust my crew. And I just love seeing what they bring each day without it being too structured or too rehearsed.
And Marius C asks, how to watch Double Threat in the UK? Is it available this Friday?
Not this Friday. It's US and North America, Canada, English-speaking Canada and US right now. I know we just got back from Cannes and we had a really good run there. We've got to sort through everything, but we're going to be working on worldwide, and we will definitely let you know. Our writer, CJ Wally, is from the UK, and so I can be sure we will put that thing up on a bed sheet and project it for you if we have to. We will make sure that's in the UK for you. And if you want, follow us on social media and Double Threat's got a small page on Facebook. We'll keep you all posted on.
And Nate Winchester goes on to ask, so we can look forward to special feature outtakes for the movie?
They do exist. Believe me, we've got a couple of great scenes that unfortunately due to time restrictions or just, doesn't work for this, but it's a gem. I've got them all ready to go, and I look forward to sharing them with you guys. Absolutely.
Retro Nerd Girl says Double Threat sounds like a good time. And
well, thank you.
Dempsey asks, how do you world build using a camera? Do you have any techniques that you use as a go-to?
How do I world build?
World building with a camera.
That's almost as confusing of a term than that other word that I needed somebody to look at. Look,
I think it certainly applies to things like genre and science fiction. I think a lot of it are the details, little details that, say, a George Lucas would pay attention to that I think somehow has been. I think the theme of this is George maybe needs to be more involved in Star Wars. And a last question here from Marius C. Last question: how do you work with expectations? What you want to touch in your storytelling versus what the studio wants. I am green in filmmaking, but from a publishing side, these can differ. So, how do you deal with expectations?
Great question. I'll answer it as quickly as I can. But for me, I think as storytellers, we have a job, and that's to take our audiences in places they've never been, they can't go, or have always wanted to go, or scared to death to go to. And I don't do horror. I don't do sci-fi. I like doing slice of life, and I like doing fun, ass-kicking dirt movies with women who are in power. I basically want to take that Hal Needham genre of the 70s with the Cannonball Runs and the Smokey and the Bandit and flip it, where the bandit would be a woman and to be a guy riding shotgun. And that's kind of the way we've done our last few films and will continue to on this genre. So for me, I really, want to give women viewers more than anything those movies that guys have embraced and consumed for the last 40, 50 years without giving consideration to the woman viewer. I want women to want to see a film of a girl kicking ass, riding a horse, shooting a bow and arrow, beating two goons up on the side of a hill, doing all these cool things and leading the show. So it's something they want to see and don't feel like, oh God, my boyfriend wants to watch another action movie. Here we go. I just think there's a untapped market out there that is not being nurtured enough. So for me, I don't get too heady in touching story more than just, I want to make something fun. I want people to just realize they're getting a cheeseburger with a side of fries and they may get that extra pickle on the side. And for me, it's about are women going to want to watch this? And that to me is in what we're doing right now is the most important. Well,
now I'm hungry. Well, Shane, hey, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. This is not your first time. This is not your first time on the podcast. We've had you on before. So this is awesome. We are going to wrap up. It's unfortunate because the chat is hopping.
Yeah.
We've got like 400 people watching.
Well, let's go. Let's do an after hours. Come on.
I can't. I got to go see a movie. I'm going to a movie. I'm going to go see RRR. I'm going to a movie, but we'll have you back. We'll have you back, Shane. Right. I want to thank you, Shane.
Thank you.
Pick up your book. Where can people get your book?
We made it real simple. You can go to whatyoudon'tlearninfilmschool.com. Or you can go to Amazon and just look up What You Don't Learn in Film School and get it there. It's real simple. You can get it on audio. You can get it on Kindle. You can get it in the book. I don't know if I have one here. I guess I don't. And it's there. And I suggest the book because I have found a lot of people get the Kindle or the audio version, and they end up getting the book because they want to highlight it, they want to make notes, they want to underline some things. And so, get it any way you can. But what you don't learn in filmschool.com, you can go to shanestanley.net. You can get a link to it there. You can see what we're up to. And yeah, enjoy the book. New filmmakers, people who love the process of filmmaking from concept to delivery. It is literally in there from the idea to the deliverable of getting a film out globally. So thank you.
Cool. And then here you go. Check it out. What you don't learn in filmschool.com. Go there. And Nate Winchester says, I've got to hear your reaction to that film. Please make sure you broadcast it.
Oh, RRR.
Yes, RRR.
Yeah, I'm going to tune in for that.
You've got it's on Netflix. You can see it. I am seeing it in a theater and I can't wait. Shane, great to have you on again. I really appreciate it. We got in a deep discussion today all about the new Obi-Wan series. The chat was on fire. But I want to thank you, Shane Stanley, Alan, for actually getting to your hotel early so you could join the chat. Flaccid Phoenix, who is our moderating the chat. Subscribe to his channel. Flaccid Phoenix, look it up. And we are Film Threat. We do live streams every Wednesday night for Hollywood on the Rocks. Fridays for our regular Film Threat live cast. We'll be live at 9 a.m. talking about The Boys, along with a bunch of other movies, a bunch of indie films that I'll be seeing. So can't wait to do that. So watch us live every week and subscribe to the Film Threat YouTube channel. Anything else, Alan? Anything I forgot?
No, I think you got everything.
Great.
Yeah. Go see Double Threat. I'm definitely going to
go see Double Threat.
Go see Double Threat. Thank you for having me.
Well, here's the thing I always say, like, we watch a lot of mainstream stuff I think is disappointing to audiences these days, right? Some of these franchises are not sort of what they're not delivering on what I think the audience's expectations are or hopes for it. And I feel it's always important to balance your diet of movie going and movie watching with a little bit of mainstream, a little bit of independent film. And that's the purpose of Film Threat. That's why we're here. So Alan, have fun. Shane Stanley, thank you again for being here. Alan, how do you get out of here?
Let's get out of here.
Thanks, guys.